Hey guys, good evening. How's it going? So, has the government reverse engineered UFOs, flying saucers, and the like? So, reverse engineered just means basically they've captured a UFO, such as the one at Roswell, and they've taken it to pieces and copied it, basically. A bit like China does with all our engineering and how they've advanced so rapidly. Sorry, China, we love you. And yeah, so there's quite a lot of evidence and there's quite a lot of theory that they do, and this question pops up a lot, like in conversations, like when I get talking with people about UFOs and ETs, a lot of people ask me, has the government got their own UFOs? So it's obviously this kind of information getting out into the mainstream quite a bit recently. So first up, apparently there is a patent that the US Navy has registered with the Patents Office for a, what do they call it? A inertial mass reduction device. Or something like this. And so I believe that means anti-gravity in words that they've used to kind of perhaps cover it up and make it a little less obvious to the mainstream public. So, but it's super interesting because when they describe how the craft works, apparently it creates high energy microwaves that like radiate outside the shell of the craft to create a strong electromagnetic field, which apparently can potentially negate gravity, so that like anything can like float off the earth. And this like sinks in with like what a lot of UFO folklore says, that anti-gravity is connected to electromagnetic energy and high powered electric energy fields. Apparently if you charge a certain metallic object up with around 1,000,000 volts of electricity, it causes it to float off the earth. So this story's been going around for a long time. There's a guy who used to have, I'm sure his YouTube videos are still up, where he's got this cage where he's like putting a lot of electricity on these metal objects and they're floating inside this glass tank. So super interesting that. And the other one is like what's called cold plasma fields. So cold plasma, I believe, is, I don't know if this is connected to cold fusion, like nuclear fusion. I'm not an expert. Like this is a UFO and experiencer channel, not a scientifically perfectly accurate channel. So, but this idea of something called cold plasma, and what you do is you create a high, I think in one thing I've heard is you supercharge mercury with a nuclear generator, and it creates this thing called cold plasma, which creates like an energy field around the ship that creates anti-gravity. And so David Wilcock, if you follow David Wilcock, he's apparently he's like been talking to insiders for many years. He's the guy that bought Corey Goodforward and who's the other one? I can't remember his name, but lots of them. And he's apparently got a factory that's building hover cars and that work off this, I believe it's cold plasma, not cold fusion. I'm getting confused, I think, but cold plasma. That this is the technology behind creating these hover cars that David Wilcock is building in his factory, that are apparently going to be available to the public sometime in the future, probably for some years, if I know how long engineering these things tends to take. So, and also there's a lot of rumours in the avionics, the aviation community, that's these rumoured craft called the Aurora and the TR-3B, that are these triangle ships that a lot of people see in the sky. A lot of people say if you see a triangle UFO, it's a government ship, it's a military ship. It's either this Aurora or the TR-3B or something similar. I disagree, because Bashar and the Yael, as I understand it, both fly triangular shaped black crafts, so it's not entirely true. And I believe the ship I went on was a black triangle ship. Like if you look back on my YouTube channel, the stories of my my 2018 contact experience, where I kind of had this missing time where I was like teleported from one part of the forest and suddenly appeared in another part, and then remembered my own contact experience. I don't, like, it was missing time. I don't remember it consciously, but one thing I started to remember, not so clearly, but I was trying to tune into how this happened. I remember seeing like this black triangular craft like descending through the sky like this, really slowly. And I mentioned this before, and some people say, "Oh, that's really scary because they're military craft," but no, they're Yahyel craft and Sasani ships as well. So probably where the government copied them from. And so also the Rendlesham Forest incident, where a ship landed. If you're interested in ufology and want to see some solid cases that have a lot of solid evidence, look up the Rendlesham Forest case in the UK in Christmas 1980, something like this. And that was also like some of the military personnel report seeing and actually touching a black triangular craft. And actually, if you go to Rendlesham Forest in the UK, which I did, I was kind of surprised because when I went to watch it, look at the place where it landed, I didn't know if you'd be able to get in the forest. I didn't know if I'd be like sneaking around or stuff. And when I got there, they got this whole UFO trail mapped out for the public. And you get halfway around, and they've actually got a replica of the triangular-shaped UFO in the ground in the middle of the forest. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, so these triangular ships are well known of, and the point is that the TR-3B and the Aurora, I believe, are rumoured to work off this cold plasma technology, where apparently a nuclear reactor supercharges mercury, which creates something called a cold plasma field around the ship that can negate the gravitational effect and cause it to float. And apparently they still use like traditional thrust, but of course if you've got no gravity and no weight, you need virtually zero thrust to just the tiniest bit of thrust will set it moving forward like really fast. So super cool stuff. And of course you have Bob Lazar. So Bob Lazar was super controversial, has been super controversial for years. He's the guy that made Area 51 common knowledge to the public. Apparently where he was stationed was actually a little base just to the north of Area 51 called S4 or something like this, I'm not sure. So he's the guy that made Area 1 famous, and no one really knew about Area 1, and they were doing secret testing until Bob Lazar came out back in the day. And he claims to have worked for the government and underground, and to have seen several UFOs that the government has built themselves in hangars underground. One that he calls like the sports model, because it's like a small one that goes really fast apparently. And he recently did a documentary with George Knapp called, I can't remember what it was called, maybe it's just called Bob Lazar, or I can't remember what it's called, but it was a really big documentary, quite well known. I think it was it on Netflix? I'm not sure if it's on Netflix, but it's been on but it's been on a lot of mainstream stuff. Gaia TV probably. Anyway, what was it called? I don't know, but anyway. So that's another little bit of evidence, a little piece of the puzzle. Dr. Greer, of course, Dr. Greer was the guy that got me into all this, because back in 2007, 2008, I started doing Dr. Greer's CE5 meditations, where you do these meditations to visualize connecting telepathic with the ETs and send them communications about where you're located in the universe, and you can actually zone the ships into your reality. And like after doing this meditation for a month, 6-7 weeks, something like this, I had a series of 3 UFO sightings over the UK, over my parents' home in the UK in Lincolnshire. And so while me and Dr. Greer don't agree on anything, because he doesn't believe that the grey ETs are real. He thinks they're all like government, like psyops or something, like the greys are actually like, I don't know, like programmed life forms created by the government, which to a certain extent they are, but I think it's a bit different because they come from another dimension, another parallel reality as I understand it, and I think they are organic life forms. So it's getting super deep and super crazy now. But so And because of this, I'm sure Dr. Greer certainly is dubious about Bashar, because Bashar claims to be like the hybrid offspring of the Greys and the humans, and Dr. Greer believes that Greys doesn't exist. I don't know if he's still claiming this line of belief, but anyway, so we don't agree on anything, but he was the guy that started it all for me. And as part of the CE5 meditation, I actually was visualizing the image of a grey extraterrestrial, because I had to piece it together myself from the information that he shared. Like, he wasn't sharing all his information like publicly at that time, at least not without paying a lot of money to go on one of his courses. So I just from the tidbits of information I was able to pick up from him, I created my own C5 meditation, and included visualizing the image of a grey extraterrestrial, which is ironic because I now know that Dr. Greer doesn't believe in the grey extraterrestrials. But like, if you understand the law of attraction and the idea that Bashar talks about, that we create our own reality within our consciousness, I believe I actually created this timeline, this split in the timelines, this reality within my own consciousness, where I was having contact with a grey extraterrestrial species. But of course I was trying to contact with a highly love light oriented service to humanity, or service to all species. And like the Zeta Greys aren't exactly that, because they're kind of like, they don't have no emotion, and they're kind of flat, and so they're quite kind of spooky. And so anyway, I believe I created this reality where there's this hybrid species, and they existed. So I believe I created Bashar. So, but of course you guys did too, because you're creating your own timeline, and you must have done something also to create your own version of Bashar. So how did you create Bashar in your reality and shift to this timeline? Did you have an interest in believing that those grey extraterrestrials with the big eyes were perhaps here to save us, or something like this? So yeah, so where the heck was I? Yes, so Dr. Greer, talking about Dr. Greer, this guy, he's heavily involved with like the military and black ops projects. Possibly he used to be involved in the military in some way that he hasn't really talked about. Some people suggest this. It's perhaps very awkward for him. I believe he's a good guy trying to do the right thing, so let's not start judging him for that, if that is the case. But he's certainly very much involved with lots of black ops projects, for some reason. And he talks about, he's recently, if you look at his channel, Dr. Stephen Greer, I think it's called, he's recently just released a video, like a 2-minute video, talking about how a few years ago he was invited to this underground base where they were working on technology to grow back limbs. Like, he says what you can do, and I believe this is probably true, because this is what I understand about Reiki healing, and I'm studying a lot about healing and energetic healing at the minute. That I was listening to a Reiki channel guy that was given information by a being that he met in the astral realm, big into astral projection. I can't remember his name, but he said that he was taught by this light being in the astral realm how to do Reiki. And he says what you do is like he had a burn on his chest or something, and he says he puts you put your hand over the burn, and you visualize like the dimension, I think, of the astral realm where you have no burn, and then that like dimension creates the physical body. Because if you understand anything about metaphysics and spirituality, our physical manifestation, our physical body, this hello here, is a manifestation of our higher dimensional subtle energy bodies, as Dr. Greer calls it, our astral body, perhaps our energy body. We actually have an energy body, like reality. Ultimately, we are source consciousness, and having the dream of being a soul, and having the dream of having an aura and an energy body, and having a dream of having a physical body. So we start off as source consciousness, and we project down and down and down and down and down into the denser layers of reality, our physical body. So we actually create our physical body from our etheric body, from our energy body, from our spiritual body, from the astral body. And Dr. Greer says that these guys in these underground bases working on these black ops military projects have got this technology where you can actually grow back limbs, and they have technology that interfaces with the subtle energy, our subtle energy body, or our astral body, and like kind of visualizes an arm, and from there we can begin to grow back an arm. So this is super interesting for future medical technology, and a lot of people like comment on my videos who are into more like this kind of conspiracy, like David Walcott kind of era thing, talk about these med beds. There's this big talk in the conspiracy ufology community about these things called med beds that the ETs have, and they also have in the government projects, where they can actually heal the physical body from using these things called med beds, and I assume they use this same kind of technology. So apparently Dr. Greer said this same technology can be used for creating free energy, like I believe anti-gravity and free energy are very closely related. And so Dr. Greer talks about these government reverse engineered UFOs that he's I'm not sure if he's seen but been told about. And so there's some more evidence there for the fact that reverse engineered UFOs and ships exist, as well as free energy devices and miracle healing devices. So come on guys, let's step up this pressure on the government in a good way. Do you know what I mean? They're not all bad guys, there are a lot of good guys in this. It's complicated, like it's a complicated scenario, do you know what I mean? Like military secret technology and getting it out, so let's just try and work with them to the best of our ability, but try and put a little bit of loving, compassionate pressure on them to get this information out and get this technology out to the public, so we can solve the cost of living crisis, as it's being called back in the UK. Being called everywhere, I guess. And so yeah, so I just had a last note, 0 point energy, but we kind of talked about this as well. So free energy, we can all have perhaps in like 20-30 years, guys, we'll all have our own free energy device in our house, so we won't be like worrying all the time about how we're going to get the money to pay the bills, and we just plug in our free energy device and we can get our PlayStation 9s hooked up to the PlayStation 9 actual reality headsets where we can't tell the difference between physical reality and virtual reality on our free energy devices, and then we hop out into the street and get into our sports model flying saucers and just zip up to like 4 miles altitude outside the Earth's atmosphere and get in like the interstellar highway and just like transit around the planet, and then go to the teleportation wormhole section where we can actually teleport through to Mars and Venus and the Orion system and Andromeda galaxy. Perhaps we can even go to another galaxy, go to Andromeda by then. Can you imagine that, guys? By the time like you and I are in our 70s, we can actually hop in our own flying saucer and pop over to Andromeda for the day. So on that anti-gravity 0 point energy shell, I'll see you in another now, guys. Shibai.